Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to create this bubble tea pattern from scratch in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to start with a new file. Doesn't really matter how big yours is. I'm just using something that's 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. Now I'm going to use shades of a purple color. So I want my shapes to be filled with no stroke, but I do want some more of these purple colors to use. So I'm going to open up the color guide panel. So I'm going to Window and then Color Guide, because I've got my color guide set up to give me shades and tints of a color. Now you can get to it here by choosing shades and tints, and you can also set up how many colors you want. So at the moment I've got 4 steps. I could add 5 if I want more colors to work from. So I'm just going to click OK. And then I want this particular set of colors in my swatches panel, so I'm going to select over all of them, click on the first one, shift click on the last, go to the flyout menu and choose Save Colors as Swatches. So now I've got some theme colors that I can use. So again, I'm going to select my fill and I'm going to select the color that I want to work with. I'm going to start with a fairly light color, so this purple is going to be perfect. I want to draw out a long thin rectangle. This is going to be my cup. Now I want it to be angled, so I'm going to the direct selection tool. I'm going to select over these 2 anchor points, leaving these 2 unselected. I'm going down here to the scale tool. When I click on it, if I drag outwards, I'm going to drag the 2 selected anchor points in opposite directions. So that's a nice good start to my shape. So I'm going to make a second one of these. I'm going to hold the Alt key, Option on a Mac, drag a copy away, and I'm going to fill it with a different color because I need to be able to see the color I'm working with. I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to place it here because what I want to do is to cut it out of the original shape. So just need to make sure that I'm going to get some good walls for my cup. So having got my basic shape, I'm going to select over both of these and just align them. So I want this to be centered, this dark purple shape to be centered exactly inside this one. I'm going to select over both of them, the light color ones on the back, the dark ones on the front. So if we go to the Pathfinder tab or the Pathfinder palette, which you can get to by choosing Window and then Pathfinder, and go here to minus front, we're going to subtract the front shape from the back shape, and that gives us our hollowed out cup. So now I'm going to the rectangle tool. I'm going to drag in a rectangle that's going to go in the bottom of the cup. From my swatches panel, I'm going to go 1 darker in color. Select over both of these and let's just center align them. For this one, I want to give it slightly rounded corners, so I'm going to the direct selection tool, and now I can just drag in on the corners to round them off a little bit. I also want to round off the corners of my entire shape, so let's select the shape. I want to round these off first, so we're going to select it or select them with the direct selection tool. So only these are selected and these are not. So now if I drag in, I can round the tops just very gently. Let's have a look at the bottoms here. I'm going to just grab these here and I'm going to pull them in. And then I'm going to grab these by just dragging across here and pull these in. So I'm just being strategic about making my curves to suit my needs. Now I need my drink, so I'm going to the pen tool. If you hate the pen tool, it's fine. This is going to be dead easy, I promise you. Let's just select a different color for it so that we're working with a fill color here. I'm going to click where I want sort of the top of my drink to be. I'm going to hold the Shift key as I click over inside the cup here. Not trying to do anything other than just make sure that my shape is covering the edges of my cup. Again click, and click to finish off. So I've got a shape here that I'm going to cut out to make my drink. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the cup itself and do Edit Copy and then Edit Paste in Place. That puts a copy of the cup on top of the drink layer. So let's just have a look and see what's going on here. This is the duplicate or the original cup here, and this is a copy of it. So the ones I want to select are the topmost one and the drink. So this is the cup and the drink, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the cup to cut the drink. So we're going to sacrifice the cup as we go along. So that's why we've got a duplicate of it, because otherwise we'd lose the cup entirely. So we're going back into our Pathfinder palette, and again, because this cup is on the top, we want to subtract it from the piece immediately behind it. So we're just going to do minus front, and you can see that we've lost our second cup, which is what we expected to happen, but also the path here is exactly the size of our drink, and it's not any bigger or smaller than it needs to be. So now that it's there, I'm just going to change its color. Now I want a straw, so for the straw I'm going just simply to the line segment tool. I'm going to click and drag upwards. I'm going to clear the edge of the glass a little bit because I don't want it to run into the glass. I'm going to the stroke option, and I'm going to start increasing my stroke. Now if you don't see stroke up here, sometimes it will disappear. You can open a stroke panel with window and then stroke, and then you'll be able to get access to it. Now if your stroke panel only shows a little bit of data or a little bit of options, then you can always click to just change what you're seeing in the stroke panel. Now I want rounded caps, so I'm just going to click on rounded caps, and I want its color to be one of the swatch colors that I'm using. So let's just go and find a darker purple for it, but of course we want it to be the stroke color, not the fill color, and I'm going to turn my fill off because I don't want a fill. So if I just click away, I can just check and see how that's looking. Well, I just need to bring in the bottom of it, either move it upwards or just shorten it a little bit. So the next thing is our balls, our bubbles. So I'm going to go to the ellipse tool, hold the shift key as I drag out a small bubble. Now I don't want a stroke on this, I do want a fill, and I want my fill to be one of these light colors. So let's go back to this light color. I don't think that's nearly big enough. So now that I've got my first bubble, I'm going to click on it and Alt drag a duplicate away, and then we'll go and click on it and Alt drag another duplicate, but this one, holding the shift key and the Alt key, I'm just going to make bigger. Now the only thing I'm concerned about before I make this into a pattern is that this is a line here and everything else is a filled shape, and I don't want this to be a line. There are a number of reasons. One of them is that you quite often will find that a stock site won't accept something that is a line. They want to see filled shapes, and also it could cause us problems with our pattern. So I'm just going to expand it. I'm selecting this line, I'm choosing object and then expand and click OK. So here it is in the layers panel. It's a group. I'm just going to open it up. It's just a path in a group, so I'm just going to drag it out so I don't have groups inside groups. I'm going to select over everything, and I am going to make it a group with object group. Okay. Now if I want two different colors of these objects in my pattern, I'm going to Alt drag a group out of the way, and I'm going to change the color of this one. So I'm going straight to the recolor artwork dialog. I'm going straight to advanced options, and I'm going to edit. I'm going to make sure that this icon looks like this so that my harmony colors are linked, so that if I just drag things around, I'm going to get a total change of my color. So I've got something that looks a bit more like orange than purple. I'm going to click OK. So now I've got two shapes to put in my pattern. If I wanted to, I could reflect this. So again, selecting this because it is a group, object, transform, reflect, reflect over the vertical, just click OK. It has to be in a group, otherwise things are going to go really haywire. So let's select over both of these groups and make our pattern with object, pattern, make. Now I'm going to hide my artboards with view, hide artboards. I'm going to zoom out so I can see things more clearly. In my pattern options dialog, at the very least, I want these to be whole numbers, and I would prefer them to be even numbers. So I'm going to start off by doing that because that's less likely to cause problems with the pattern in the future. I want to see more of these on the screen just so I can evaluate my pattern. My tile edge is turned off, yours might be on. I want to push these apart a little bit further, so I'm going to increase the width. So I'm clicking in the width area. I can hold down the shift key as I click to just move these apart a little bit. I'm actually pretty happy with this design. Let me just see it and turn the tile edge off. I like this sort of uneven pattern built in here, but what I do want to do before I leave here is a couple of things. One, I want to put a background on this, and two, I want to add some more bubbles. So the background for my pattern is going to have to be the tile size. So let's go and get a rectangle tool. Let's click once in the document here. 1010 by 934 is my tile size. Yours is going to be different. Don't worry that yours is different. Just put whatever your tile size is. Click OK. You can see it's filled with dark purple here. With it still selected, Object, Arrange, Send to Back. And I'm just going to drag it around to make sure it doesn't cut off any of my pattern. Actually, just looking at it, looks like it's not cutting anything off anyway, so I think I'm good. But if yours is cutting any part off a pattern, then just move it around. Now, of course, the problem is I can't see my straw right now because it's exactly the same color. So let's go and make it a different color. And that will make it easier for me to check to make sure that nothing is cut off. And also, because I'm using a different color, it's going to be possible to recolor everything later on. So that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to the group selection tool, which will allow me to select these shapes here. I'm going to Alt drag a duplicate of these out of the way because I want to use some of these in my pattern. I'm going to drag them from each of these shapes. Now if you see something happen like what just happened with my shape, just undo and start again. Alt drag it away. Make sure you've got it selected before you Alt drag on it. I think this pink is causing me issues here. Let me just see if I can pick it up and make it a lot lighter so I can see what's going on. So in here I'm going to keep grabbing some of these bubbles and just making sure that none of them get cut off as I'm pulling them into my design. Some of them will be selectable, some will not be selectable. You can see here that I'm losing it, so I'm going to pull it down here. You just want to be super careful that you don't destroy your design by having something cut off at this point. Let's turn off the tile edge. Let's zoom out so we can have a quick look at everything and just make sure that I'm not seeing any problems. Well, I'm seeing a bit of a dip in here that I'm not liking, so let's just go and sort that out. I think it's this dip here. I think that looks a little bit better. I'll just click Done. Now while I'm here, I could adjust the pattern I've just made to make this one point in the same direction. So let's just take the pattern and drop it onto the plus symbol so we get a second version of it. Double click on it and let's go in here and select the one we want to change the reflection on. Now you might need to use the group selection tool at this point to make sure you select all the objects because sometimes these can be part of it. So I'm just going to select on one part of the design, hold down the Shift key as I select these other parts. So that's going to be the glass, the juice in the glass, the straw, the three bubbles and this piece here. Now I'll go to Object, Transform and Reflect. Just make sure it reflects correctly. It looks pretty good to me. I'll just click OK. If I'm happy with that, that's another pattern. I'll just click Done. So let's just bring back our artboard with View, Show Artboards. Grab these shapes and move them out of the way and place a rectangle on the artboard that is the size of the artboard. It's got one of my patterns in it. I'll choose Object, Transform, Scale. I don't want to scale the object. I just want to scale the pattern itself. I'm going to bring it down to about 30 something percent. I'll just click OK. Let's have a look at the design. So this is the second pattern that we created and this is the first pattern. So it's just a matter of changing the angle of the straws and I think I like the second one best. Let's have a look at some recoloring options. I'm going to the Recolor Artwork dialog. From the color library options, I'm going down here and I'm going to select neutral just to see what that looks like. I kind of like that, so I'm going to click away. That's created a new pattern. Again, selecting my pattern, going back to the Recolor Artwork dialog. Now I would like to use some of the beach colors, so over here let's just select beach. Now that gives me some beach colors, but it doesn't give me access to the full collection of beach colors. So let's see what we could do. Going to the Swatch Libraries menu in the Swatches panel, I'm going down to Nature and to Beach. And these are the actual colors that are in the beach color scheme. It's just that they're not being reflected accessibly in this dialog. So what I want to do is just go and grab some. So I'm going to grab this lot. You can see they're added to the Swatches palette. I'm going to grab another lot. I'm going to move these around to create a palette of colors that I do actually want to use. So now that they're in a color swatch, let's see what we can do in terms of our pattern. I'm going to select over my pattern fill dialog, go to the Recolor Artwork tool, go to Advanced Options, and open up this little flyout menu. And here we can get access to the beach colors. When I click on it, you can see the beach colors, all of the ones that I've selected to use have been added to the document. And so now we could just rotate around these colors until we find something that we like. Now there's no undo option on this, so if you get to see something that you like, don't go past it because you're not going to be able to get it back. You'll just click OK, and you can save the changes if you want to. That's not going to really affect the pattern at all, but at least you've got your pattern saved, because then you can come back into the Recolor Artwork dialog and try again with your colors. But just if you see something that you like, don't go past it because you're not going to be able to get back to it easily, if at all. So there's an illustration of a very simple bubble tea pattern in Adobe Illustrator. If you like carefully researched content like this, clearly presented in a step-by-step format so that you can get great results, then you'll love my Skillshare content. I'm a Skillshare top teacher. I have hundreds of short courses on Skillshare that you can access, along with thousands of other great courses, all for the price of a single subscription. If you're interested, there's a Skillshare coupon for you in the description below to use to sign up. Using this coupon benefits me as a creator, and it helps me continue to make free content available here for you also on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for this video tutorial. On the screen now, you'll see a video that I've hand-picked for you. If you enjoyed the video you've just watched, I know that you're going to really enjoy the one I've picked for you to watch next.